alaikum, everybody, and we're at the midway point of this week, subhanallah.
Yes, we sure are, Rima, and yes, you've guessed it, we have an amazing show, as always, lined up for you today. Our first guest, Zahra, joins us in the studio from Inspirited Minds to talk about mental health within the Muslim community.
Then we're blessed to have Naima B. Robert joining us by video link. She'll be talking to us about her book, 4 months and 10 days, and then she'll be telling us more about Sisters Online. So make sure you stay tuned to catch that exclusive.
And Creative Soul Sessions is back this week, and this time we have Mariam, who aims to reinstate the relationship between East and West through engraving and paper cutting methods. Definitely doesn't get any better, does it?
So we're then off to Maidenhead Mosque for this week's mosque tour. Rami travels to Berkshire to visit this Turkish-inspired gem full of charm and beauty who do a lot for their youth. We're excited to show you more.
Make sure you comment and email us at sistershour@britishmuslim.tv, and if you do share any of our posts, don't forget to hashtag Sisters Hour.
Assalamu alaikum. Now, 1 in 4 people in the UK experience mental health problems each year, and 2.6% of these people suffer from depression. Sadly, it's a very common illness. However, people often brush it off, which can then become very dangerous.
We have Zahra Samih, our next guest from Inspirited Minds, joining us in the studio to talk about mental health and depression within the Muslim community. As
a mental health care and aspiring clinical psychologist, Zahra will be sharing with us the importance of dealing with depression as soon as you can.
As stated in the Inspirited Minds website, mental illness requires attention, and it is not something that to be ashamed of or embarrassed of. So let's speak to Zahra and find out more. Assalamu alaikum, Zahra.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So tell us a bit more about your role within Inspirited Minds.
Well, in Inspirited Minds, I work on the outreach team, which is basically on the ground trying to promote mental health awareness within the Muslim community and the whole community at large, to show that we as Muslims do understand the need for treatment, the need for recognition, the need for social interaction about these issues. And I put on events. I'm in charge of like liaising with like public, stuff like that. We also have many other teams within our organisation, such as like people who give, we've got qualified counsellors and people who give like therapy and that kind of
like
the more traditional, yeah, the more traditional thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm focused on like awareness and this kind of thing.
But then what made you get into that?
Well, my personal experience with mental health from a young age is what made me get into that. I know I'm lucky because, alhamdulillah, I've experienced it, so it gives me this awareness and, you know, motivation to go on and do something in our community. And when I was young, there was nothing like Inspirited Minds, and that's what motivated me to go on and think, you know what? I have experienced this, and many other Muslims are probably experiencing this as well. So we need to do something about it.
Just for the viewers,
yeah.
What do you mean when you say I've experienced this?
Yeah, so my experience is different. Many of our viewers probably have had some personal, you know, incident, or friends have like suffered. For me, it was a family thing. Someone in my family had an illness and continues to have an illness, because some of the illnesses are long-term management. You know, you don't necessarily get over it. Mental health is something that changes throughout the course of your life. So for me, I had a family member that suffered from it, and from a young age, I was, you know, exposed to like NHS, exposed to like how it operates within the system. But one thing I'd never, you know, experience was any Muslims talking about this issue. Lots of the treatment we go for,
yeah, it's so true,
are with non-Muslims, and they don't understand our community, they don't understand our spiritual needs, and these are things that I felt was a big gap, and that's what I wanted to go forth and conquer, inshallah, like in the Muslim community, you know,
yes.
Understanding that in Islam we have a scope for treatment, for healing, and also with science and how those connect. And, you know, it's very important that we don't overlook this, because we are supposed to be the best at this stuff, healthcare, you know, we have something unique, we have a community.
But what about when it says, like, you know, I've read in certain places and where it's encouraging people to come away from depression, where it says, like, in Islam, you know, depression doesn't exist. Some people may say depression doesn't exist. It's something that we've put there, and whatever calamity we're going through, it's that whole concept of where it says in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not put you through your soul through anything that you can't bear. Yes. What would you comment on that then?
So yes, you're right. A lot of people put it down to deen issues. Let's just put it like that. They say, you've got depression, you've got a mental health issue. This is because you're weak in your deen. And this is something I experienced, which is why I'm so passionate about, you know, this kind of work that I'm doing, because from a young age, you know, my family member who suffered was told, sister, you know, this is deen problem. And that's really wrong, because yes, deen can help you, and we should go to Allah first. But the thing about Islam is, you go to Allah, you tie your camel, you go to Allah first, you go to the Quran, and even the Quran, so many verses about وَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ, and go back to the Quran, then you go forth and look at your community. And we are unique. I would argue back and say we are unique because as Muslims, we are a community faith. Islam is not supposed to be practiced by itself. You're not supposed to go in a cave and practice by yourself. You're supposed to practice as a community. And as a community, we often, you know, in like Bengali cultures, they don't even have a word for depression, and like they don't have certain words to explain what they're trying to say.
That's what I was just about to say. In my culture, I was actually
for
watching a video yesterday by a Bengali comedian, Ali Fisher, and I was seeing how he's obviously done it in a comedic
Have you seen
way.
the video?
The Instagram post that he posted.
And the fact that obviously they
Just
straight
for our
away
viewers,
say,
if you just tell them about
yeah,
what the
so it's
video's
just
about.
a video with Ali Official just saying, going to his mum and dad and trying to express, oh, mum and dad, I think I've got there's something wrong with me. I'm not feeling good. And then they say, oh, take paracetamol, you'll be fine.
Yes.
Go out with your friends, you'll be fine. Don't worry, just rest it out. But what he's trying to say, he's got depression. And then his mum's like, no, there's something in you. You know, that's what I mean.
And
so
it can
possession
be
or these kind of things. So do you feel like the possession thing could be a factor, or is that more just a cultural thing that people have mixed with, obviously, religion and other aspects? Definitely,
possession is real. I believe in it, you know, and we go and get ruqya. But the thing is, it's not, most of the time, if you go to like shuyukh about this stuff, most of the time, 99% of the cases are not jinns, okay? People always assume it's a jinn, you're not acting normal, it's a jinn. The fact of the matter is, we should be doing ruqya anyway. You can do ruqya on yourself, you can YouTube it, and you can do it on yourself, and we should routinely do it for our own health. Go to that first, and if it doesn't work for you, move on and try the other cures. Often we have Muslims, and this is from my own experience, going to ruqya for years and years and years and not seeking any help, not talking about it, being ashamed and thinking it's a problem in my deen and I'm a weak Muslim.
But do you also think it's an embarrassing thing then? Like, for example, like because of the communities we come from and the different cultures, I'm not talking about the religion now,
Yes.
talking about the different cultures, so Pakistani, Bengali, Indian, whatever culture it is, the different cultures. Do you think it's embarrassing to sort of be, and hard for you to come to your family and say, you know what, mentally I'm not there and I need your help?
Yes, that's because of a lack of understanding. We don't have any Muslim professionals. This is what we're trying to move towards as well. And another vein of work we're doing, you know, like networking and like having a whole Muslims working in the professional sphere. We don't have any understanding. So a lot of our older generations, they don't understand that mental health is it's very flexible. We go through it in life. Everyone goes through it, even someone who you think is well. You know, there's no such thing as wellness. That's a society perceived thing, you know, that you're well and you're not well. Everyone has their own mind. And the embarrassment factor comes from the fact that people, especially for males, I think it's much more difficult. If you're a Muslim woman, you see, if you're Bengali or whatever culture you are, and you say, Mum, I'm not feeling it, postnatal depression. They have their own understanding of things when you have children. Oh, she's not quite there. But if a man has it, it's like way worse for him because he can't explain it and they won't understand it. And that's because, you know, as a community, we haven't really taken that on board as another illness.
But again, it comes down to like, I've heard people say, like, I know a few people that have been through depression, so I know how hard it can be for them. But I know a few people that would say, well, they're just being drama queen when it comes to women. So I know it might be easy to sort of box it up and say postnatal depression or this kind of depression is what the woman's going through. But I do feel like people can easily say, oh, she's just acting up, it's just a drama and it's probably just something small, and deal with it. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, that's true. I completely agree with you, and especially like when people want to go for diagnosis, families like, you don't need that, you're just trying to get out of school, or you're trying to, like, especially young people, they're like, you just want an excuse to not do your exams, etc., etc. I have experience with that as well. But I would say that if you don't discuss it, even if you don't put that label, you know, sometimes you don't put the label depression, you just see your friend is going through something, or your sister's going through something, or someone's disappeared. It could be a simple fact of someone has disappeared from your life and you haven't heard anything about them. It's not always them being dramatic. Sometimes the absence of a person can indicate a problem.
Yeah, there's like no symptoms, is there? And it's so varied.
It's very broad.
Yes, some people sleep so much, some people don't sleep at all, some people eat a lot, some people don't eat. It's different. It's recognizing that there's a change in your friend.
But you know, quite often, like, does the person themselves know it? Because quite often I know with a couple of people that I've encountered, they don't know it themselves.
They instantly think there's something wrong with them. They know that, but they think it's the illness.
Yes.
That's what
they don't know. They're confused. When you say to them, are you okay? I'm okay. Have you eaten? Yes, I have. But
statistics show that men are more likely to go to the GP and show, you know, and attribute it to a physical problem or an illness. And that's why GPs need to look out for mental health issues, because men will never come and say, I've got something wrong with me mentally. They'll come and say, I've got a stomach ache, I've got this. And that's what I was trying to say. In order to combat it, it's a community thing, and it's something we have unique. We have mosques, we have school, we have aunties and uncles, and if everyone realizes and understands more and has awareness, even if they don't use the word.
Why would you say mental health is really looked into by in Spirited Minds? Why is it that mental health, rather than other aspects of mental health, why is it specific on depression? Is it because it's more kind of an increasing thing, or?
Well, Inspirited Minds doesn't just look at depression. We look at a variety of mental health issues such as anxiety, which is really linked to depression. It can be, like eating problems, many different things. We have a range of issues that people come to us with. But depression is as common as it's the common cold of depression. That's the term that people use. 1 in 4 people experience depression. You just quoted that statistic yourself. And that's why it's often the thing we deal with the most, and what we have tools and resources to combat the most at the moment in time.
Well, Zahra, just before we go, just in a couple of words, because we only have a couple of seconds, what advice would you give to those viewers watching?
I would give them, an advice to be mindful of their own behavior and mindful of their behavior of other people. Even if you don't feel like you're experiencing a problem, notice that someone else in your community is, and never be afraid to speak about it. And go to Allah, but go to your family as well.
SubhanAllah, you know what, wise words from Zahra, and we thank her so much for joining us today. But make sure you join us after the break. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.